Hello and welcome to our first Disability Confident event of 2022. My name is Emma Blackburn and I am the Regional Employer Services Manager for CTEC Plus. Thank you to everybody for joining us today. I'm really excited to be launching our Equally Inclusive events. Our aim is to support employers to become more inclusive and to share best practice within the industries. So coming up today, we have quite a packed agenda. We have my colleague Maurice Mackey, who will be talking to Paul, one of our wonderful programme participants, about his journey into employment. We'll then hear from some employers about what disability confident means to them, the impact it's had on their businesses, and there then will be an opportunity to ask the panel any questions that you may have. So do please start thinking about the questions. Next, we'll hear from Chris at WorkFit. Chris is going to talk us through some top tips on how to listen to, motivate and retain staff, which we know is very important in the current climate. And finally, we'll hear from Tony George, an employer advisor from Job Centre Plus, who is going to tell us a little bit more about the Disability Confidence Scheme. We'll also be taking your pledges. We want you to start thinking about, during the next hour, what it is that you'll do differently as a result of what you've heard today. So please do get involved and join in. You can use the Vimeo chat, or if you're watching Facebook, then please use the comments, or you can WhatsApp on 01872 228844. The details are running along the bottom of the screen. So the current economic situation is making recruitment very difficult. That's not going to be news to anybody on the call, I'm sure. This is something that we hear kind of day in, day out, really. Equally inclusive events are aimed at helping employers to widen the talent pool that they recruit from. I hear time and time again from employers that they just want people that want to work. Skills can be taught, but the will to work is the difference between an applicant and sustainable employment. So now we're going to hear from Maurice and Paul. Paul has the will to work in bucket loads, and I'm sure you'll agree his story is inspirational. Over to you, Maurice and Paul.
Okay, so thank you, Paul, for agreeing to join us today. We really do appreciate you sharing your story. So to start off with, I know that you've recently gone into work. So can you tell me, where is it that you're working and what is it that you're doing?
I'm basically working with the housekeeping team with WCG,
right,
at the Hilton. It's very recent, so I'm still new to it at the moment.
Excellent stuff. So how long had you been out of work before you got this job, Paul?
I've been out of work for near on 9 years.
Okay.
Through health issues, basically.
And how had that made you feel, being out of work for that length of time?
Well, each year it gets you down and down, to be honest. You just end up losing all confidence in yourself.
Okay. So had you applied for work? So before coming to the Work and Health Programme, had you tried to apply for work?
I have, yeah. I've had a hip operation, hip replacement, and that started getting better now. So I've decided to try and get back into work and look for it myself. But I've tried for, I'd say, a year and a half. I've just been sending out CVs, emails, going to companies, but got nowhere, absolutely nowhere.
Okay, so not even like interviews or a thanks but no thanks letter, Paul?
Not even a no thank you, we're not interested. Absolutely nothing back.
So how does that make you feel from a confidence point of view?
Oh, it's bad. It makes you feel worthless, to be honest. I knew I had something to offer somebody. I couldn't do my landscaping like I used to because of my hip. So I wanted to try and do a career change or get something else. But it just, each time you don't hear someone, or they're just not interested. It's just a knockback in it.
It is. So then, you obviously you were with the Job Centre, and then your work coach referred you to the Work and Health Programme.
That's right, yeah.
So and then your fabulous employment coach is a lady called Jen, we know she's amazing, Paul, don't we?
She's absolutely brilliant.
So when you first met Jen, how did you feel? Did you feel a bit more hopeful that actually we were going to be able to support you to kind of get you back into employment?
Yeah, because I kind of fed off her confidence, if you know what I mean. She was just basically explained what you do and how we'll go about this, and who she knows as well that could help me, and the support I'll get. And it does. It's a big boost.
Excellent.
I didn't at first believe it, because obviously you heard us talk before,
Yeah.
But she's been absolutely brilliant, and they've been supporting me all the way.
So you're now in work. So how did this job come about, Paul? So did you have to kind of go down that traditional route of doing a CV and application, or was it a little bit different?
No, this was a bit different. Yeah, this was somebody that Jen knows herself, who she's worked with before. She basically contacted Jen asking if she has anyone available. And then she put me on to her, and we got an interview. And Jen comes and interviewed me with me as well, which was absolutely brilliant, because I was very nervous about it.
Yeah.
And that's how it come about, to be honest.
Okay, so I understand that you had a little bit of a work trial, like a couple of days work trial to start off with, just to see whether you were right for the role and whether the role was right for you.
Well, originally it was supposed to be 6 days over 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I did 3 days, and then Victoria, my boss, actually just offered me the job there and then.
Oh, you must have been so pleased.
Oh, I was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I was so chuffed.
So were you anxious? So what were you worried about kind of going back into work, Paul? Now, did you have any kind of fears?
My main worry is obviously my hip, and I'm diabetic as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we sat down, we talked about this. They said if you've got any issues or you're having problems, just let us know, which I have done. And I got another meeting on Friday, so to keep up to date with it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been having a few problems with my hip. Don't get me wrong, it does hurt when I'm doing a lot of work, but I'm just working through it, just seeing how it goes, basically.
Excellent stuff. So how do you feel now that you're back in employment?
Oh, I feel 100 times better, to be honest. Absolutely 100 times better. I'm basically looking forward to it. That's all I can say, really.
Okay. And what is it that you think that employers were missing? So when you were applying and weren't getting the interviews, what was it that you felt this is what I can bring to an employer?
Not sure. I think it's just the face-to-face for them. Because everyone's going through paperwork, emails and phone calls nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think once we've met, we just hit it off from there. And it's so much easier that way. Instead of having to wait for replies for email and things like that, which most of the time you never hear from anyway. I think that one-to-one and that group thing that we did was so much easier and better.
So it now feels that now that you're in employment, you're going to pay back your employer by them giving you the opportunity. You're committed and really kind of inspired by that employer to kind of do your absolute best for them, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I have been giving it 100% as well.
Brilliant. So such an amazing story, Emma. I think you would agree that how marvellous to hear that this is a story where employers have deviated slightly from the recruitment practice, but they've got somebody who's absolutely committed and will give that company loyalty moving forward.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Marie.
That's fine.
Lovely. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for letting us share Paul's story.
Well, I hope somebody else gets the same sort of thing as me. So if it helps one more person, it's been brilliant, then, isn't it?
It's been lovely to hear your story, Paul. It really is inspirational. I think the support that you've been given and the value that's had, that is what we do. That is what we're here to do. We're here to work with people like Paul, but employers. We're here to work with employers to really help them understand that what we call the untapped talent. Let's make it as easy as possible for everybody. And Paul, you are I said that you have the will to work in bucket loads, and I think that's been proven. So good luck in your new career. Thank you so much for your time.
That's fine. Thank you, Marie. Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So coming up next, we will be introducing our panel of employers. But before this, we will have a short video for you to watch.
7.7 million people of working age in the UK have a disability. Yet only 52% of people with a disability are in work and 6% of people with a learning disability, compared to 76% of the wider population. People with a disability have a huge wealth of skills and talent. But sometimes inflexible processes or preconceived ideas can create barriers that simply don't need to be. Now times are even tougher. Unemployment is on the rise, making it even harder for disabled people to find work. But that doesn't need to be the case. The answer lies with you. Why not join the 18,000 organisations that are already disability confident? Find yourself great people from a huge pool of talent who are skilled, loyal and hardworking. It's great business sense to mirror your customer base, and you'll change so many lives along the way. But don't just take our word for it. We are proud to be a disability confident leader. It's so valuable in making us review our practice to ensure we're inclusive and there are no barriers to recruitment. By integrating CTEC Plus into our recruitment process, we've broadened our routes and widened our applicant pool, South West Ambulance Service Trust. We've partnered with CTEC Plus to fill our vacancies, with 20 truly amazing recruits in the last 6 months. Becoming disability confident has enabled us to harness the talents of many wonderful people, and we celebrate the diverse experiences and knowledge of our team. Next Steps in Devon. Through Disability Confident, I now employ 3 people on the autistic spectrum. They are confident, enthusiastic and dedicated. One of our employees, Ruben, has developed our next generation of business software. His use of data is astronomical. He's basically doing a job no one else could do. Lineal Software in Devon. So now, back to you. What will you do differently today?
Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. So I'm here just to remind you that you can make contact with us and join in with the conversation on the Vimeo chat if you're watching via the video link. If you're watching via Facebook, then you can also use the comments to ask your questions and tell us your pledges. And you can also use WhatsApp, contact us on 01872 228844, and the details should also be running along the bottom of your screen. We'd absolutely love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please do get in touch. And also just to add, if we aren't able to answer all of your questions today, then we will get back to you after the event. Please just ensure you leave your details when you get in touch. And again, the details are running along the bottom of the screen. And back to Emma.
Nikki, who is from the Royal Association for the Deaf. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, nice to see you.
Hello, yeah, and you can hear me, so that's a good start, isn't it? Fantastic. So, again, thanks for joining us. We really, really do appreciate it. Can you tell us a bit about your journey with Disability Confident and the support that you've received?
Yeah, we had Royal Association for Deaf People. We had fantastic support from yourself, actually, at CTEC, and our most recent self-assessment, and it's sort of making sure that we met all of the requirements for our Disability Confident Leader validation. Our journey through Disability Confident, it was really actually quite straightforward, and I highly recommend seeking support for the validation for organisations, because it was so straightforward, because we had the sort of guidance and information and things from yourselves. We actually found it really interesting, and we learnt a lot going through the sort of Disability Confident journey. It was a process where we found that what we thought we were doing as standard delivery and sort of standard processes was actually above and beyond. So it gave us a lot more confidence, and we were really reassured, and it's kind of spurred us on sort of to plan our journey ahead and what more we can do. So for us, it was really valuable, and we really valued that support from CTEC.
Brilliant. And I think that's such a good point that you make there, Nikki, that we have, and obviously we work very closely on this, so it's great to have this opportunity to discuss it. But I remember so many times saying to you, oh, and what about this? Are you doing anything like this? And you would say, well, not really, but we do this, this and this, which actually was that all in the perfect examples of it. So I think that for me is one of the key things with Disability Confident. The vast majority of employers that we talk to when we're doing self-assessments are saying, yeah, I don't know if we're doing enough of that. But when we start delving deep, you don't realise you're doing it because it's second nature.
Exactly that. Yeah, there was a lot that we found that we were doing that was exactly that. We thought it was just standard practice and this is what everybody's doing, but we didn't realise sort of how much more it was. And so it's really important. It was really valuable actually having your sort of insight to be able to pick those things out and then expand on them to make sure that it was really thorough.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because if you don't know that what you're doing is going above and beyond, if for you that is normal practice, it's very hard to then start detailing that information. Brilliant. So what does being disability confident mean to your organisation?
So RAD, we're really proud of our Disability Confident Leader status. It's really valuable to us. We take positive action to make sure that our workplace is fair, that it's progressive, and that it enables every colleague to achieve their full potential. So being disability confident obviously gives you that sort of stamp of approval, I suppose, on that. So that's something that's really important to us. It also sort of being a leader, it helps us sort of aim to encourage this from other people as well, and other organisations that we may work with or come in contact with who, like us, sort of recognise the positive value of diversity and promoting equality and challenging discrimination. So it is really important to us.
I think it's that leadership status, like you say, it's that championing, isn't it? It's being able to really kind of push that message and support other organisations, supply chain and those sorts of people. It's really, really vital. I think one thing that it's very difficult to measure, but the impact that it has on employee engagement with your current staff as well, that's something that I think we really miss an opportunity with sometimes. And again, it's incredibly hard to measure that, but being a really inclusive workplace, the impact that can have across your current staff, not just new staff that you're bringing in, it can be really, really key.
Yeah, we do. Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
So we do seek that feedback from colleagues. We regularly have a sort of pulse survey, just to sort of make sure that everybody, what they do think of sort of the working at the organisation. But we do sort of monitor outcomes like that, that people do feel supported, and also ask for feedback. So sort of an open sort of door for colleagues to be able to share feedback, information, comments or ideas that they may have on how we can improve.
Definitely. I think that's the way we all move forward, isn't it? Is particularly around things like inclusion and diversity. Definitely. So have you found that being disability confident has improved your recruitment?
Well, short answer, yes. So we've always been at RAD a committed employer of deaf people and disabled people, and I think our Disability Confident Leader sort of status, it provides us with the reassurance for candidates of our commitment to that and how important and valuable it is to us. And I think in turn that sort of the fact that we're always aiming to learn and have challenging conversations with ourselves and to make sure that we deliver what we say we're going to deliver. So having that Disability Confident Leader sort of status, it reassures candidates of that. So I think that in turn encourages people then to sort of follow through with our sort of recruitment.
Yeah, I think, I always say, let's wear the badge proudly, spread that message, because you want people to feel comfortable to apply and disclose disability, without a shadow of a doubt. That is, put the badge everywhere. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we do that, and only when we do that, and we start measuring that, do we really start to see the positive impact that it can have. It's fantastic. And how did you find the registration process for Disability Confident?
It was relatively straightforward. I think even more so with your support and guidance. I think there's a lot of information out there. It's just knowing sort of where to find that and bringing that together to understand, especially if you're new and you haven't sort of gone through that registration process before. It's important to seek out the guidance, find support, and contact people like yourselves to kind of support you through it and ask questions.
Yeah, and that's what we aim to do. Certainly the support that we aim to give employers is to make that as easy as possible. It's not a difficult process, I don't think. It's just knowing, what, like you say, where to access things and what the right things are. And, what, again, it's that work around, you're already doing it. Let's talk about it. Let's pull some of those examples out and then we can build on that. That's brilliant. And finally, do you have any top tips for employers on becoming disability confident?
I think for RAD, our top tip would be to be curious, to always ask questions, seek support. I think never stop listening and learning from the people around you, whether that's organisations, colleagues, candidates. Just continue to kind of listen and learn and be curious, ask questions and have challenging conversations with yourself, with colleagues, and don't be afraid to ask.
I love that, Nikki. Be curious. I love it. Absolutely. Seek out, whatever information you can, and then act on it, and we'll all grow and develop. That is absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And it's it's nice to catch up again after going through that kind of journey together as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikki.
Thank you.
And then next, it is my absolute pleasure to go over to Kevin from Born Leisure. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Emma. Hope you're well as well.
Good. I'm very good, thank you. And as always, thanks for joining us today. It will be absolutely no news to the people here that the hospitality sector has been widely impacted, not only by the pandemic, but the recruitment crisis following it. So whilst this is incredibly challenging, it has given us at CTech Plus a bit of an opportunity to support and really kind of develop our relationship with the sector when the support has been most needed. I think, I would be right in saying that employers are looking to, tap into different talent pools. When there is a shortage and there is a recruitment crisis, it's really, really important that, it's always important, but it's even more important from an employer perspective that they're finding the right people for the right roles. And I think that's certainly something that I see our relationship with you guys has really kind of developed and grown over the last couple of years, and the support that we've given each other has been very much kind of mutually beneficial. So what I'd like you to do, Kevin, is just tell us a little bit about the support that you have received from CTech Plus. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely echo your comments in relation to the challenges that I know we've all faced in our sectors over the last couple of years, but absolutely from a hospitality perspective, it's been really challenging. A positive out of the last couple of years has absolutely been that relationship, that partnership with CTech Plus. It's been an absolute partnership, and just very grateful that we've connected to get your support and that partnership in helping us. And I've lost count of the number of team that CTech Plus has specifically helped us recruit and identify and bring into our fantastic business. It's been absolutely incredible in terms of being able to give team those opportunities of a lifetime that they might not have seen or heard about before. The support that Emma, you and your team have provided has been absolutely fantastic, and we're certainly really grateful from a sector for that particular support. And I think, being in HR, the best part of this job is giving people those opportunities of a lifetime, and you've helped us give those opportunities to the team when they probably needed it the most.
Brilliant. And that's what I mean. It's very much a mutually beneficial relationship where we've, moved lots of people into work, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic at looking at your recruitment processes. And I know, recently we were talking about your kind of inclusion strategy and how that's been really shaped around lots of feedback, and your kind of approach to disability confident, and the way that kind of encompasses inclusion, and actually how it feeds down into the recruitment process with each individual kind of hiring manager is really quite inspirational, and certainly something we strive to do with more organisations, at that really intensive kind of support that we've worked on together. So as a disability confident employer, do you feel being part of the scheme has benefited the organisation?
100%. Similar to Nikki, it's the simple answer, absolutely yes. It's allowed us to look at areas that we may not have looked at enough on in the past. I think it's allowed us to really keep focus and to consider things that we might not have considered previously. And we've been on a journey over the years and in the last couple of years with this partnership, and it's allowed us to consider things that we might not have considered before, and sometimes not get things right. And you and the team have been fantastic in giving us feedback maybe when we haven't quite got it right, and allowed us to grow and to learn and to put things right as part of that particular journey. And that's again a real strength of that relationship. But it's undoubtedly helped us as a business. It's allowed us to recruit in some amazing team that we might not have fully considered before. It's absolutely allowed us to move forward on our inclusivity and diversity agenda. And it's also supported our customer, our guest element has also become a lot more better represented through becoming a disability confident employer as well. And I think that was one of the areas that people didn't necessarily consider, but actually we are beginning to reflect a better inclusivity piece for our guests as well through being that confident employer going forward as well. So it's worked well. It's ticked lots of boxes in many areas, some that we expected, some that we didn't. So it's been fantastically well received.
That's a really interesting point you make, because I think with disability confident, and certainly the angle that we kind of come in at with our support to employers and working with our programme participants, we don't always give enough attention, I think, to the impact that it can have in other areas of the business. So like you say, that kind of mirroring your customer base and those sorts of things, that is something that is the kind of financial benefit of that to the business is, again, it's just another benefit, isn't it? So I think that's something that we probably don't focus on enough, because again, we kind of come in from the angle of recruitment and retention. So that's a really interesting point, and I'm glad that you've raised that one, Kevin. So what would be your top tips, and you are an expert in this field, at considering inclusive recruitment practices? So no pressure.
Wow. Okay, thanks. No pressure indeed. You've helped us massively with this. I think it's really keeping a very open mind. I think it's keeping an open mind. I think it's educating leaders. It's talking to and coaching those leaders to consider difference. It's storytelling and sharing some of the successes that come through. And bringing that to life through some really effective storytelling. But the biggest piece for me is that education with our leaders to help them think differently and to change their concepts and to change their thinking that they may not have always had, then has a positive impact on team and on that recruitment agenda as part of it as well. So I think for me, spending that time educating and supporting leaders with their thought processes and storytelling some of the success that comes from it really has a great payoff in terms of some of those top tips. There's loads, but I think having spent a lot of that time coaching and educating some of our leaders who do this every day has the real significant payoff that's required. And
actually, I wholeheartedly would agree with that from a perspective of, working with people to support them into work, what we see is that there are fantastic inclusive processes, recruitment practices, there's disability confident, and everything else that is around that and encompasses that. The challenge always, and like we heard from Paul earlier in the show, the challenge is that message getting down to the hiring managers and getting to the front line, and ultimately the experience of people that are applying for those positions. So I think that again, wholeheartedly agree with you that it is that challenging that within leadership and making sure that that is something that is embedded in an organisation's culture, that it's not, just a policy that's in a system somewhere for people to access, that it is something that is lived and breathed within an organisation. And I do think that is why we've had so much success together, because that has been your real focus, and that has been so instrumental in the experience of our participants coming to work for Born Leisure. Definitely. Brilliant. And why is it important to Born Leisure? Why is inclusive recruitment in a nutshell, I suppose?
I think it could be a really long answer here, but I think keeping it simple, I think it's beneficial for the business from a commercial perspective. I think it's beneficial from a engagement perspective. And ultimately, as we all know, a stronger level of engagement in a business provides a far stronger commercial benefit at the same time. If we've got team that are engaged, we've got a far stronger performance at the end of the day of a business. And everybody's moved on over certainly the last 2 years and at pace. And this is, if you're not doing these things, I think you're really left behind. And I know absolutely within CTEC Plus, you don't want to leave anybody behind. And I'm always so impressed by when I hear some of the success stories of team that have found a career. We don't want anyone left behind either. And I think as an employer, you can't be left behind now, and you have to be inclusive. You have to consider everybody. You cannot consider one particular fit anymore. It just does not work. And actually, as a sector and as a business, we have so much on offer. It's not just one particular role. There are so many different roles that are available, that actually there is something for everybody. And there are adjustments that can be made to support everybody at the same time. So it just feels that you can't be left behind as an employer to not consider some of these particular opportunities.
No one left behind. Absolutely. That is, and it's, I think you make a really good point that, let's not leave yourselves behind. Absolutely. Yes. I think that is a really interesting point. Lovely. And finally, what would you say to an employer that is, just starting out on their disability confident journey, and would you recommend it to others?
Of course, I think definitely recommend it. I want to take Nikki's. I love that. Be curious is fantastic. The piece for me is trying to put yourself in the team members' scenario. I think is my go-to, and I've done this. I've tried to do this throughout my career, but actually at times, be the team member, be the person that you're considering. Actually identify and talk to them about some of the challenges that they might be facing or they might be thinking, whether that's at the recruitment stage or whether that's actually once they've been onboarded into the business. I think that massively helps understand it from the team members' perspective. So I think kind of put yourself into the team members' shoes to really understand what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and listen, take that feedback on board, and where possible, make those adjustments and make those considerations. Would be my top tips.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Kevin. As always, it's an absolute pleasure to hear your insights and the great work that's happening at Born Leisure.
No, thank you too. Really appreciate all of your support at CTEC Plus. Thank you.
No problem. Lovely. So please do send your questions and pledges in using the Vimeo chat or use the Facebook chat online. Our panel are really keen to answer your questions, so please do take advantage of that. Great. Now, I am absolutely delighted to introduce Chris from WorkFit, who does some absolutely outstanding work with individuals and employers, specifically around supporting sustainability in work. And that is at the core of what we do. Everything we do at CTEC Plus is about sustainable opportunities. But I'm sure every employer that is listening to me at the moment will be thinking, that's key for us too. That is one of the biggest, most important factors, is that we are keeping people, we are retaining really, really good people. And I will say it only once, that we're in, what we're branding the Great Resignation. So, now more than ever is a really, really important time for us to be thinking about sustainability in work. So here is Chris and his top tips.
Yeah, good afternoon all. I hope you can hear me. I've had nothing but problems with my IT this afternoon, so I apologize if I freeze or I stick. I'll just keep going as best as we can. So I was asked to pop along. I manage a contract called the WorkFit program, who offer bespoke in-work support for people that are struggling with normal everyday in-work responsibilities. These could be anything from their anxieties to confidence, to just not feeling confident enough to actually go and speak to their employers about their concerns or worries, which in turn results in that person not feeling comfortable and confident to go to work. End result, they fall out of work. You as employers then are left unmanned, not really knowing what's gone wrong, and so on and so on, and the employee going backwards, falling further out of work, but also gaining more insecurities about themselves. So that's what we try to do within our team. I think I've got sort of three top tips for you that you probably have heard, and I know Nikki and Kevin have sort of covered them as well, but I do think they're actually really important. So first one for me, I think, is one of the most important, is for an employer to be open-minded and encourage conversation, encourage well-being and inclusion. Excuse me. And this needs to be sort of from director level down. So for an employer to actually see that their director of the organisation is getting involved and being a part of what they do on a day-to-day basis, really makes a big impactful impression on the employees that work for your organisation. A few of these things that you could benefit from is increased resilience within the staff, better employer engagement, reduce sickness absence, because they feel that they're able to come and talk to you as an employer rather than be fearful. But overall, we all have our businesses, yes, to look after and support our staff, but it's our performance and our productivity. So by incorporating the openness, you will incorporate that performance and productivity. I've actually got an example, and I've written it down actually, so I'm going to read it for you. It's a good news story that we've had, that one of my WorkFit coaches passed over to me. So if you see me scanning across the screen, I apologise. It's just because I don't want to miss anything that this really good, impactful story. So there was a new employee. We won't name him, obviously. He was long-term unemployed and really proud of himself for gaining work. But he had fears that he was unable to perform at his job and would quickly lose his job due to his dyslexia and learning difficulties. The WorkFit coach spent time on the phone discussing worries and concerns and putting in coping strategies while looking at the bigger picture overall. Through conversations and discussions, which were around the possible adjustments that could be suggested to his employer, which will then hopefully in turn support his employment, his overall well-being. It was highlighted that the employer's main concerns were around reading and writing, time completing tasks, and his interaction with other staff due to his learning difficulties. So, taking into account that his reading and writing were his biggest issue, The WorkFit coach then scripted up a really nice supportive email that he sent off to his employer. He felt confident and comfortable enough to be able to do that. But we also passed over our details as well, because there's always a fear that there's an outside organisation poking their nose into something that they shouldn't be, almost in the eyes of like certain employers, and there is that element of worry. So we attached a little bit of information about us, what we do and how we support people. And because we've done that, and because the employer was confident enough to go and actually have that conversation to start off with, the employer was more than happy to support the employee and wanted to speak to us at WorkFit to gain additional support on how best to offer support to him and others that they employed within their organisation. So the end result for this participant, I am getting there, don't worry, was the employee could work within a different section of the store to support his reading and writing, a supportive space and designated go-to person if feeling overwhelmed or worried, and given more time to complete tasks and time between tasks in order to allow process time. There was also other considerations which the employee said he would take away and have a think. They were going to invest some money into him and actually buy him like a little tablet that he could actually go around and scan the products. So he didn't have to worry about writing them down. It was actually recorded onto that, which overall would help the employer because he was getting accurate results in his stock management. But I have great pleasure to announce that through the support given by the employee is currently still in work and has been there for 8 months. He's become a great asset and a representative for that organisation. Which is brilliant news. And it's what we want to do. It's where we stand and where we sit. We just want to make sure that we can give every single person an opportunity to fulfill their life as best as they can. And that's what we want to do as employees as well. So as well as the above, I've actually cheated again. I've written a couple of things down. And it's things that you could actually embed into your organisation and looking at the well-being. Now, it's great to say that well-being is a part of what you do, but to get the best results from it, you need to embed it sort of on a day-to-day tasks. So there's things like embed it into weekly meetings, one-to-ones, KPIs for managers if you have them. But I think the best one that I sort of thought was actually task-specific staff to take ownership of their well-being. So have well-being champions that you can give them that task, and they can take ownership of what they need to support the rest of the team. So my second, hopefully useful suggestion would be training. So we are all here today. We're on this call, all you lovely people. We are here to learn about Disability Confident. I will sing Disability Confident from the rooftops. I normally get told to come down after a few hours, but I would still climb back up. It's so nice that you have actually all taken the time out of your day to come and attend this event, because you're showing that you care about your company, but more importantly, you care about your staff. But if you invest in some training, once again, from top to bottom, get the director in the meeting, get him in the training with all the rest of the staff, you will really show that commitment to the staff that you manage and you look after. There is one bit of training I would actually suggest. It's sort of blowing my own trumpet a little bit. And it is something that we can actually support you with, is mental health first aid. Now, it's MHFA, it's a 2-day course. I actually teach it. I have the great pleasure in teaching it. I love teaching it. People get a great reward from it. I'm sorry, Emma, I'm doing a pitch. But I think it goes really well hand in hand with Disability Confident. or I'm being told I've only got 2 minutes, or talk faster. Really quickly, you can, by undertaking the training, you can support retention, you can support and reduce your turnover, cut sickness leave. And I think the most important, that you can demonstrate a commitment to your corporate social responsibility. I'm getting there. I'm getting dry mouth. Hang on. And I think my third and final one, before you don't have to speak to me ever again, is, what's the best way to do it? Early intervention for that support. So by coming on and being part of Disability Confident, you'll learn those skills. You've got Emma, you've got Jane, you've got Geraldine, you've got everybody else that you'll speak to that you've already heard to. Tap into those people, talk to them, gain advice. It's perfectly okay not to know an answer. But by having a network of people that you can go to, you will be able to quickly support that person, which will then support your organisation. I think that is everything for me. I'm very aware that I always take up too much time, so I apologise. The last thing, I promise last thing, I reckon I've got 10 seconds, and Geraldine knows me very well, and so does Emma. It is perfectly okay to, I've already said this, to ask for help, but you must also look after your own well-being. And that's, you can promote this from the rooftops within the organisation, but if you don't look after your own well-being and your own mental health, there's a famous saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's okay to actually seek help for yourself, and that will then reflect onto your employees, and that will then move your organisation forward. I promise that is it. I'm going to be quiet now. Emma, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris. I think your final point there for me is very interesting, and it is, in a nutshell, because I'm a little bit better at that, it is about leading by example, isn't it? Yes. And it's saying that actually in my organisation, in the role that I do, I am going to look after my own well-being. I am going to be inclusive. All of these things that we are talking about, if you are doing that, you are leading by example. That is how we build a culture of an inclusive workplace, completely 100%, and utterly.
100%. Yeah. You can't expect somebody else to do something if you're not willing to do it yourself.
No, absolutely right. That's a really, really good point. So I'm sure there are some great ideas there, and I'm sure that some of the employers listening are thinking about their pledges and thinking about what is it that we could do differently. Hopefully Chris has given you some ideas there, so do please keep them coming in. I am going to hand over to Geraldine now, who should hopefully have some of your questions for the panel.
Thank you, Emma, and thank you to all of our fantastic speakers. We do have lots of questions that have come in. So I'm going to start off with a question from Nicola, and I think I would put this to perhaps Nikki, Kev and Chris. How much will employers support disabled employees, for example, around access to work, reasonable adjustments, etc.? Should we go to Nikki first? You're on mute, Nikki.
I think my sound slightly went, so I think I might have missed some of the question. Can you just quickly repeat?
How much do you as employers support your disabled employees, for example, with access to work and reasonable adjustments?
Yeah, so Royal Association for Deaf People, obviously being one of the leading deaf charities, supporting deaf people and disabled people is something that we're really committed to. In terms of access to work, we actually, as an organisation, advise other people in relation to supporting deaf people to access employment, recruitment, interviews, and various other things. We have services set up specifically for that purpose, to support people around how to make reasonable adjustments for deaf people. And as part of our Disability Confident, obviously that includes disabled people as well. And we will, as with kind of other panel members have already said, we will always do what we say we will do. So it's important as well to have information from, say, potential candidates or colleagues or other organisations even, to say to us what they need from us, and we're committed to providing that.
Thank you. And over to you, Kevin.
Thank you. Very similar. I think we're all about identifying the opportunity and identifying the reasonable adjustment, and then looking at, what can we do? What support is available? There is so much out there, as Nikki said earlier. I think it's making sure that you're then utilising that support to help the candidate, and to look at what opportunities can be made available. I think in my experience, some things are really simple, are really straightforward. Other things might become a little bit more complex, but that's where the support is out there, both with CTEC Plus, with organisations such as yourself, Chris, taking that experience and knowledge to help you, because, we're always learning, aren't we? And we don't know everything. There is a lot out there, and some of the conversations I've had and have asked some of the parks that I looked after to work with CTEC Plus have really helped get some answers to some of those solutions as well. So I think there's technically no barriers. I think there's lots of opportunity that we can address.
Yeah, and I think the message really to everybody out there is you're absolutely not alone on this. There is people out there. And also just to give a big shout out to Job Centre Plus, who we're going to hear from in a minute. They are completely there to support employers with all areas of access to work and reasonable adjustment.
Yeah.
I'm just going to move on to the next question, and this is a really interesting one. So perhaps this one mainly for Emma, but Nikki and Kevin, if you want to come in as well. If a company advertises themselves as disability confident, what kind of measures are there in place to ensure this actually means something and is not just a trendy tag on the website? And that's from Amy. Emma, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question, and there is a lot of work going on at looking at the scheme and looking at accountability within the scheme and how we can ensure that it is very much a valuable exercise, and that it isn't, and I hate this term, but I will say it, that it isn't a tick box exercise, and that's the validation process does that. You have to have an organisation that is a leader status to validate that process. To validate that kind of accreditation almost. So that work is ongoing. I know that, again, there's lots of work going on as well about really digging deep into, once that's happened, the reporting around that and ensuring that employers are living up to their side of the bargain. If you're wearing the badge, you need to be, walking the walk in effect. So yeah, there is the validation process itself, I think, in my opinion, does that, and it really does kind of get into the culture of an organisation, and those kind of suggestions and things are all about improving practices. And then there is a much wider piece of work as well around accountability of the process.
Nikki and Kevin, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that. No? Cool. Okay, I'll move on then. This is another really good question, and it's a theme that's come out from several people today. So educating leaders to help them think differently, changing their concepts and storytelling. I think, Kevin, you spoke about this, and Chris also spoke about director level down. So again, perhaps to Kevin and Nikki, how have you educated your leaders? How have you made them think differently? How did you go about this? Kevin, should we start with you?
Yeah, I it's a massive opportunity, and it can't just be a point in time. So we've spent time with our leaders. We've specifically talked about these particular topics, but what we have to keep doing is continuing to keep it alive. So it can't just be a moment in time. It can't just be a training course that was delivered in 2019. It has to be something that we keep refreshing and we keep talking about. It's absolutely in the conversation. And that's the opportunity. And we're still working some of that through. But I think specific time, but then building it into the plan and making it a regular conversation, a regular topic is really important. It can't just be a course that's attended once in somebody's employment. It has to be ongoing and regular.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm just really conscious of time, so I'm just going to take one more question. For those we haven't got to, we will get back to you with your questions. So last question for Emma. It would be great if we could search for disability confident employers. As a charity who supports people with disabilities into employment, it isn't obvious who does have the status. That's from Holly. Emma.
Oh, hi, Holly. That's a nice, easy one for me. So thank you. There is a published list on the DWP website that details all of the disability confident employers and what level they are at. So by all means, ping a message in to employers@ctechplus.co.uk. That will come through to me. That email address will be on the screen at some point. I know I said that very quickly, and I'll be able to provide you with the link. But that is a published document online.
Thanks all. Back over to you, Emma.
Lovely. So thank you, Geraldine. Thank you, everybody, for your questions, and thank you, panel, for answering the questions. So this is the last call for pledges. So please don't delay. Get them in using either the Vimeo chat or the Facebook comments. And now it is time for our poll. So you should now, hopefully, see details on your screen asking about your opinion on future events. So it's really key that we want to be providing information and opportunity for discussion around what is topical and what is important to employers. So please do vote via the Slido. Instructions will appear on the screen. I'm told it's very easy. You can either hold your phone up to the QR code on the screen or go to slido.com and enter the code on the screen. So we'll give that a little moment, and then we are going to be welcoming our final guest of the day, which is Tony George. Tony is an employer advisor from Job Centre Plus in Northern Devon. Tony, thank you so much for joining us today. We are really thrilled to have you here, particularly to talk about the Disability Confidence Scheme in a bit more detail. So, Tony, over to you.
Hi, yeah, good afternoon, everyone. A little bit of background on the Disability Confidence Scheme. It was launched in November 2016, and it's to support employers in making the most of the talents disabled people can bring to the workplace, and to help give employers techniques, skills, and the confidence to recruit and retrain and develop people with disabilities and long-term health conditions. And in the longer term, and we've heard this from the speakers earlier on, we want to see this scheme recognised as the standard practice across all of industry, and have recruitment viewed as an inclusive process based on ability, not disability, as the norm. We want disability confident employers to help challenge attitudes towards disability and improve understanding, remove barriers, ensure that opportunities are available to disabled people to fulfil their potential and realise their aspirations. And there are currently more than 20,000 disability confident employers and over 11 million paid employees working for disability confident businesses, and that's great, but there's still a long way to go. Between October and December 2020, 52% of disabled people of working age were in employment, compared to 81% of people who are not disabled. So there's an employment gap there of 29%. It was slowly moving and getting better pre-pandemic, but now it's slipped back the other way, and we need to address that. And in addition, 80% of people acquire their disability whilst they're in work. So clearly there's a need to recruit more disabled people to ensure that that pool of untapped talent isn't overlooked, and to ensure that businesses do all they can to retain the talent they already have. So we've talked a bit about different levels. There are 3 levels in disability confident: committed, employer and leader. And today I'm just going to concentrate on that first level, committed, getting started. So let's take a moment to look at what that means. So when you become disability confident committed, we ask you to work towards. So notice I stress that, work towards. You're not going to just sign up and suddenly be. We want you to work towards it, and there'll be lots of help and support along the way. You've heard from some of the earlier speakers there of all the help and support they got from CTech Plus as an example. We're there to help. Everyone's there to help you achieve what you need to achieve. So first thing, look at your recruitment process. What could you do to make it more inclusive and accessible? So, have a look and make sure you're not discriminating. Make sure your job adverts are more accessible by providing them in a range of formats, for example. Look at how you communicate and promote your vacancies. They can be advertised through a range of channels. And we ask that you make sure you use your Disability Confident badge to let potential job seekers know that you're an inclusive employer. You can get help and advice and support from us, work and health providers such as CTEC Plus, and local user-led organisations, as well as national charities as well. So review your current recruitment process, see what you can do to change and make things better. You could offer an interview to disabled people. So encourage applications by offering an interview to somebody who declares they have a disability. It doesn't mean to say that you've got offer an interview to everybody with a disability. They still have to meet the minimum criteria for your job, which is commonly referred to as the desirable skills. They are defined by yourselves. What we're trying to encourage here is positive action. Employers can get my tongue tied there. Employers can take steps to help or encourage certain groups of people with diverse needs who are disadvantaged in some way to access work and training, and it's perfectly lawful under the Equality Act to do so. But also, there could be some times where, if you've got a high level of applicants, offer an interview to every disabled person who meets the criteria is just not practical. And in those situations, it's okay to limit the number of interviews to those disabled people who best meet the criteria in the same way you would do for a non-disabled applicant. We've already touched upon reasonable adjustments earlier. Whether or not an adjustment has to be made depends on how reasonable it is, really, and it will hinge on the individual circumstances and employer resources. They can include things like changes to working patterns, adaptations to premises or equipment, and provision of support packages. They're there to ensure that disabled workers are not disadvantaged when applying for or doing their jobs. And many are straightforward and easy to carry out and often cost nothing or little. But there's, as has been mentioned earlier, funding may also be available for the Access to Work scheme, and details of that are on the gov.uk website. And I mentioned earlier about supporting existing employees who acquire a disability or long-term health condition. Keeping those valuable skills and experience within your business and saving on the cost of recruiting and training a replacement, is important. And again, access to work may be able to help. And there are other organisations that could help as well, such as Mind, for example, or the Chartered Institute for Personnel and Development for mental health support, and other organisations that were mentioned earlier, WorkFit, for example. There's a lot out there. All you've got to do is ask. And the final ask that we say to employers who are wishing to become disability confident committed is to offer disabled people at least one of the following options over the first year. So possibly work experience or a work trial. Paid employment, like that one. Apprenticeships, much the same thing. Or maybe a job shadowing opportunity. Or a traineeship, especially if you've got young people who want to get an apprenticeship or a job, but they don't quite have the right skills or experience. You could look at a paid internship or a supported internship. And in terms of supported internships, they're aimed at disabled people still in education who are seeking some work experience. You might want to look at a student placement, or finally, one of the sector-based work academy placements that are designed to help you fill vacancies more effectively. They include sector-based training, a bit of work experience, and a guaranteed job interview. There's lots of options available, and you do not have to offer all of them. And signing up couldn't be easier. It's already been said. You just go to the gov.uk website, search Disability Confident, ask at your local job centre, speak to your host today, CTEC Plus. They would love to sign you up. And as has been said earlier, we only ask for some basic contact details and some indication of the size of your company. Once you've been signed up, we'll send you your Disability Confident badge and ask you to display that proudly on your website and throughout social media to let people know that you're part of the scheme and support disabled people. And you'll also get exclusive access to a social media group where you can find out about free training available, share your experiences and good practice with other disability confident employers, and just gain access to all of the knowledge and information you need to make Disability Confident a success for you and your employees. And there are other benefits to displaying the Disability Confident badge as well. Disabled people like to show to support companies who will support them. And the purple pound, which is a phrase coined by somebody in the Department of Work and Pensions some time ago, to represent the spending power of disabled people. That number was estimated to be 274 billion in 2020 to UK businesses. And many organisations are missing the business of disabled customers due to accessibility or not being disability confident in their customer services approach. Please don't be daunted by all of that. This is the start of a journey, and there's lots of people who are going to help and support you along the way. So take the plunge, sign yourself up, and let's get started. I hope you've enjoyed our little presentation. I hope you found the information useful. As I said before, lots more available on the gov.uk website or by speaking to your host, CTEC Plus, and I really look forward to welcoming more disability confident employers into the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. That was fantastic, as always. I'm going to hand over to Geraldine now, who is going to tell us about some of the pledges that we've received.
Hi, thank you very much, Tony. That's amazing. So we have got some pledges coming in, which is fantastic. And to share a few with you now, because I'm conscious of time. So from Claire in Cornwall, great session and still a lot of work to do to promote the opportunities to business leaders on the benefits of a diverse workforce. We have done some work on this in Cornwall to date, but still a long way to go. Great to hear from the employers today. This is from Amy. Maximus pledges to work with our clients and focus on their talents and aspirations, acting without discrimination to help clients reach their true potential. This from Stephen at Urban Cleaning. We will continue to support and employ as many people as I can through the scheme and never stop learning about helping people make the most out of life. Fantastic. We've also got some pledges from our own employers that have joined us today. So from Nikki, I'll just read one of your pledges, Nikki. We will take positive action to ensure that our workplace is fair, progressive and enables every colleague to achieve their full potential. And that includes having challenging conversations sometimes that ensures we deliver what we say we will. And one from Kev at Bourne. We want to give our team opportunities of a lifetime when they work for us and give teams a sense of belonging, an inclusive and diverse employer that values everyone. And I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? So if we haven't had a chance to read your pledge out, I do apologise, but, you know, just make it happen. It sits with you. And thank you very much. Back to you, Emma.
Thank you so much, Geraldine. It is lovely to hear all those pledges coming in. That is absolutely brilliant. So what a packed event. I can't believe we filled that much time and it's been really, really interesting. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and thank you, everybody, for taking part and for the interactions that we've had as well. So I'm sure you will all agree we've had some real kind of thought-provoking insight and I think we'll all have some kind of thoughts and actions to take away. As always, CTEC Plus are absolutely here to support employers, particularly around disability confident and inclusive recruitment. This is the objective of our Equally Inclusive initiative, and we want to be here as that support function to employers to ensure that no one is left behind. So we would love to support any of you on the call with disability confident and inclusive recruitment. So regardless of which stage you are at, please do get in touch. You can reach us on employers@ctecplus.co.uk. Thank you to everyone who voted in our poll. The result was health and well-being being the most, by quite a way, by the looks of things, being the most topical item for us to cover next time. So, and we've talked about that already. So I think that's all very much in line. So our next event, we will focus around health and well-being, and please do join us. Look out for the invite to our next event where we'll be sharing more best practice, having more speakers in and hopefully, you know, continuing that great discussion. So thank you, everybody. Until next time, goodbye for now.